Toward the end of the Second World War, Erich Hartmann's name had become one of the most recognized in military aviation. To pilots on every side of the conflict, he represented a generation in which skill, instinct, and relentless determination shaped life and death moments in the air. With 352 credited aerial victories, he became recognized as the most successful fighter pilot ever recorded. Yet behind this extraordinary achievement was not a larger-than-life figure, but a young man shaped by family influences, personal challenges, and a journey that led him from a quiet childhood to the demanding reality of air combat on the Eastern Front. His story is about far more than statistics. It is about discipline, survival, and the unexpected turns that followed after the war ended. If you appreciate stories like this, grounded in facts, context, and the human side of history, consider liking the video and subscribing. More in-depth historical narratives are coming soon. Erich Hartmann was born on the 19th of August, 1922 in Weissach, Germany, into a family rooted in the medical and academic professions. But another influence set the direction of his future: his mother, Elisabeth Hartmann, who was among the earliest female pilots in Germany. Her passion for flight wasn't theoretical. She opened her own gliding school in the 1930s, and young Erich grew up surrounded by the sights and sounds of aviation. By the time he completed her glider training, flying had already become a defining part of him. During the late 1920s, the Hartmann family lived in Changsha, China, where Erich's father worked through the difficult post-war years. However, the escalating turmoil of the Chinese Civil War forced them back to Germany in 1929. Like many families of that time, they lived between uncertainty and hope. But Erich's fascination with flying never disappeared. In 1936, he entered the Landesanstalt für politische Erziehung in Rottweil, while also forming strong personal bonds. 3 years later, he proposed to Ursula Petsch, a schoolmate who would remain with him through every major chapter of his life. As Europe moved toward conflict, aviation captured the imagination of the public, and Hartmann made a decisive choice. He enlisted in the Luftwaffe. By 1941, he had completed his basic training, and by early 1942, he was learning to fly the Messerschmitt Bf 109 under the supervision of skilled instructors. Among them was Erich Hartmann, a former aerobatics champion, who pushed Hartmann not just to operate the aircraft, but to understand its behavior, limits, and the techniques that would shape him into an effective combat pilot. These teachings later defined his flying style: precise, controlled, and focused on closing in tightly on enemy aircraft before firing. In October 1942, he was assigned to the North Caucasus as part of the 9th Staffel of Jagdgeschwader 52, an already distinguished and highly active unit. His entry into combat was far from ideal. On one of his first missions, he lost sight of his mentor, Edmund Rossmann, and was soon attacked by a Soviet fighter. Despite being unprepared, he escaped and landed safely, learning early lessons about fear, discipline, and situational awareness. Despite this difficult beginning, Hartmann scored his first victory in early November 1942 by shooting down an Il-2 ground attack aircraft. Known for its durability and heavy armor, the Il-2 was a challenging opponent. Hartmann approached at extremely close range, targeted its weakest points, and brought it down, but flying through its debris damaged his own aircraft, forcing him into a belly landing. This episode taught him another lesson. After firing, he had to disengage instantly to avoid wreckage. He applied this principle throughout the war. His progress was initially slow. During the next 3 months, he managed only one additional victory. But everything changed once he began flying with 2 experienced aces, Günter Rahl and Walter Krupinski. Their influence was critical. Krupinski saw Hartmann's potential and chose him as his permanent wingman. Together, they became one of the most effective pairings in fighter aviation history. Under their guidance, Hartmann perfected his signature tactic, closing in extremely close, firing a brief, accurate burst, and quickly diving away for safety. By the summer of 1943, Hartmann had reached a new level of proficiency. In August alone, he claimed more than 40 victories, bringing his total close to 100. Yet one of his most dangerous moments occurred during the same period. In his memoirs, he described how, after downing a Soviet aircraft, his own Bf-10-9 was hit by shrapnel, forcing him to land behind enemy lines. While attempting field repairs, he spotted Soviet soldiers approaching. With no chance to escape, he pretended to be seriously injured. Believing him near death, the soldiers placed him on a stretcher and transported him toward their lines. Seizing an opportunity, Hartmann leapt from the vehicle and fled under fire, eventually making his way back to German forces, only to be mistakenly shot by a startled German sentry. By late 1943, his expanding number of victories earned him the Knight's Cross. As his tally reached 150, then 200, then 250, he received further decorations. Some commanders questioned whether such numbers were even possible, but combat records and witness statements confirmed their accuracy. In 1944, American aircraft, particularly the P-51 Mustang, appeared more frequently over Eastern Europe. Hartmann approached these encounters cautiously, prioritizing survival over risk. Nevertheless, in August 1944, his total exceeded 300, cementing him as a symbolic figure within the Luftwaffe. Fearing the impact his loss might have on morale, the High Command attempted to remove him from frontline service, but Hartmann successfully insisted on continuing to fly. His final combat mission occurred on the 8th of May, 1945, the day Germany signed its surrender, during which he shot down one last Soviet fighter near Brno. Shortly afterward, his unit surrendered to U.S. forces, hoping for fair treatment. Hartmann assumed he would remain under American authority, but according to post-war agreements among the Allies, he was transferred to the Soviet Union due to his combat role on the Eastern Front. In 1949, he was tried and sentenced to 25 years in prison. The charges involved property destruction and allegations relating to civilian casualties, accusations Hartmann firmly denied. Whatever the truth behind the accusations, his imprisonment became an entirely new test of endurance, unlike anything he had faced in the air. He refused forced labor, participated in a prisoner protest, and as a result received an additional sentence that doubled his original term. Despite these harsh circumstances, Hartmann's resolve remained intact. After serving 10 years, he was released in 1955 as part of a broader repatriation effort. Back in Germany, he reunited with Ursula, returned to military service within the newly formed West German Air Force, and eventually became a wing commander. Known for emphasizing precision, safety, and disciplined flying, he reinvented himself not only as a veteran of the past, but as an instructor guiding new generations of pilots. He retired from active duty in 1970 and continued working as a civilian flight instructor. Erich Hartmann passed away in September 1993 from complications related to pneumonia. Hartmann's life represents more than the numerical achievements of air combat. It is a story of mentorship, precision, resilience, and the complex moral landscape faced during and after the war. His journey, from glider pilot to highly decorated ace, from prisoner to respected instructor, shows the many layers of a tumultuous era. His record remains unmatched, but it is his perseverance and discipline that most clearly define his legacy. If you enjoyed this historical narrative, feel free to like the video, subscribe, and enable notifications so you never miss upcoming stories from the past.